Hey everyone, Cynics here, and our month of anime is quickly coming to an end, so I think it's time to bring out our big finale video. If you follow along with my Twitch channel at all, you may be aware that I've been doing a bit of a project over the past couple weeks. I've actually been designing an anime for you guys. So I'm just going to do a quick recap on that before I get into making some fun new art. The name of the anime is Corner Kick, and it is a soccer or football themed anime, depending on where you live. And it follows a ragtag team of high school girls as they go about their adventures in becoming a great soccer team. I know it's all very cliche, and that's kind of the point. But instead of me trying to explain everything, let me just show you guys this quick intro that I slapped together because some of you sent in some amazing fan art animations as well as some music. So a big thank you to Raphael, Jimmy, and Innerden for coming up with those awesome animations and music. And since you're probably all dying to learn more after that lazily edited video, don't worry, I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of all the main characters. And these were all designed and drawn on stream. So first up, we have our three main characters. Karyu is our main protagonist. She is spunky and energetic. She's the team captain with blue hair and braces. Most importantly, the school gave her a haunted hair clip, which houses the disembodied ghost head that happens to be their head coach. Then we have Fukumi, who happens to be the goalkeeper of the team, and she's also the tallest one. She also happens to be an exchange student from Germany. On the right, we have Nisei, who is our nerdy bookworm type. She likes to strategize everything, and she has a dark history because her twin brother was killed in a horrible train accident that left Nisei with a gray patch of hair on her head. We're just really trying to go crazy with the anime levels. For our next set, we have Hizuna, who is our quiet, shy, and awkward character. We have Ariko, who is the rival to Karyu, and she is a rich, spoiled orphan who happens to be very angry most of the time, but takes soccer very seriously, and she also happens to run her own real estate company for some reason. Finally, we have Yuzu, who is a complete delinquent and a bit of a tomboy. She definitely has problems with authority, but Fukumi seems to have a bit of a crush on her. All right, they just keep coming. So we got Ginkgo, our silver-haired sports enthusiast. She's probably friends with Ariko. And then Pazuki, our chubby but lovable character there. And Mizumi, who will pretty much go along with whatever Ariko wants. And way over on the right, we got Rika Mori, who is our smallest and most sarcastic member of the team. And that brings us to our final team member, Chimoku, who is as sharp as a marble, but she's friendly and all the boys seem to like her. But wait, there's just a little bit more because we have to show off our amazing referees. So these are our three main referees. We got Koltama, the head referee, who happens to be blind, although he seems to be aware of everything that's going on anyway. And then we got Baha, who is the retired badass sea captain. And we got Tanaka on the left, our lackadaisical Yakuza member. And of course, they zip around the field using all their ninja powers. So that's pretty much it. Let's see, what else can I share? Oh yes, the school is Yakyu Academy. They don't really care about soccer. In fact, they really just love baseball. Their crest is of a baseball with two bats behind it. And I think the only reason they have a soccer team is because of some legal requirement. So that's it. I think that's all the basic information. The episodes pretty much write themselves. I already have about a dozen ideas floating around in my head. But enough about all of that. Let's get to making some actual art. So the real point of anime was, of course, to get better at a style that I don't normally do, or at least I haven't done in a long time. So I think I've actually improved quite a bit on anime stuff, and it might be interesting to see where it changes my normal style in the future. But there's a couple things that I was doing kind of roughly at the start. One was my eyes were often a bit too big and bug-eyed. They look like a parody of anime. So I think I've tried to tone them back a little bit as I've gone along, and I've really tried to focus more on the face shape in terms of the chin and the way the head kind of comes in. And that stuff has been actually more important than just making the eyes giant. So you can see here, I'm just making this one's eyes a little more smaller, although they're still very wide and definitely big. But I'm trying to focus on being very anime just by having the mouth kind of lower to the bottom of the face and making the chin a lot pointier. But I think it came out all right. For this next one, it's going to be Fukumi. And I don't normally like using reference pictures, but I saw a picture that I thought was just perfect for Fukumi. At least it made me think of her in my head. So I just had to try drawing her with this picture as my reference. I didn't really follow it exactly, but I tried to get the general gesture and expression in there. She was one of the characters that I really didn't like my character sketch of. Like, it's okay, the colors are fun, the proportions are fine. It's just that her eye and her mouth and everything about her face seemed a little too dull. It didn't seem to have any personality to it. So I tried to bring this one into a little bit more realism, but I feel like it looks a little like you can tell that it had a photo inspiring it. It just looks a little different than the other ones do, which don't have any inspiration in them. But I do like how graphical the hair came out. That was definitely something I was aiming for. And of course, I've got to add Nisei to the other side here. So I didn't actually spend that long on this one. It kind of came out very fast. I didn't have to focus much on eyes because she has those giant glasses. So I just focused on basic head shape and basic hair design. And that was really all I needed. So that one was really painless. I think I only spent about 10 minutes or less, probably even less on that one. But I like how it came out. It looks anime, yet it looks vaguely more realistic than the earlier stuff I was doing. So those are our three main characters, and of course they're like best friends as well. But I don't really like that composition because I just had them getting taller as they went to the right. But I thought I would do a couple more characters. So we got Ariko here, and I wanted her to look a little tough. She's also one of the characters that I absolutely did not care for her original character sketch. She just looked a little weird. I made her face very long and strange. So I wanted to make her a little more pretty, or just, I don't know, a little more normal looking. So I just having a lot of trouble with that ponytail, but that's okay to experiment around because a thing like a ponytail is one of those elements that is just pure graphical design. So you need to really just experiment. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You just got to find a graphical design that's going to complement everything else in the piece. And I like that one. I think that turned out okay. I like the over-the-shoulder look I gave her. Once again, the eyes feel a bit anime without being overly parodies of anime. So I think I'll just throw in our last character here. And originally I was thinking these five were our main characters, but I don't know how good these are as our five main characters. And once again, just trying to make her very simple, giving her a little bit of a longer face. I thought that would look good on her since she's the awkward, quiet type. Just make her more elongated because that seems to fit that personality more. If someone's very bubbly and energetic, sometimes you make them a little rounder, but when someone's very serious and quiet, I think a longer face tends to work good. Her body type's very simple and her pose is pretty simple. I didn't do much with that, but I had fun with the hair and her eyes seemed to come out all right. Eyes are everything. So, and you have to make them a little bit more iconic. You have to follow all these iconographies that really you wouldn't do if you were normally drawing. So let's move on to some colors. And the first thing I like to do is just quickly rough in a bunch of base colors because this is where you can really decide if things look okay or not. And right now it just looks a little bit Sonic the Hedgehog like, but that's okay. That's kind of why she has blue hair anyway, because she's got to go fast or something. And I'm just going to go for a quick cell shaded shading approach just to decide if I like the lighting scheme, and also to give myself a little more hue variation to play with when I start painting, which you can see here I'm doing it now. And I think there's a couple things I learned about trying to paint in an anime style that makes it a bit different than my normal tendencies. For instance, you really don't need to care as much about all the color zones of the face. I'm not trying to add a ton of hue variations as I would in my regular paintings. I don't want to make everything blue or red or green or just fill them with as many colors as I can. Instead, I just want to make things roughly monochromatic, a little bit of redness around the middle of the face as always. But for the most part, we want it to look like a plastic doll or something. So we don't need to bring in like tons of little details of colors and just grittiness to it. We just want to make it look very smooth and plasticky, especially with something like the nose. The nose is a huge part in painting a anime looking character. You just want your nose to be nice and clean. And for the arms as well, I tried to make them as simple as I could, just like fleshy colored plastic cylinders. But there are still a couple of old tricks I'm using. For instance, the arm gets a little paler as it goes up and a little more red as it goes down toward the hand. I think it's always great to just hint at sun damage here and there. And the last thing I really had to figure out was the hair, but I decided to just make it as plasticky as I could as well. So it's very minimal on the value shifting going on. It's just very subtle value changes and a lot of grays on the left side and some darker blues on the right side. But once again, very subtle with very broad highlights that are very spread out. Nothing very specular. I want it to look very matte. So here you can see I'm also doing that little bird pen, just trying to clean it up a little bit. And it's always easier to work from dark to light when you're doing little metal objects. So I always recommend that. And yeah, I think it turned out all right. You could see here how it looked with just the base colors, and then I added all the painting. And I actually did the shirt off stream just because I was running really long with the video, so I decided to just quickly paint in the shirt off camera. But there's not too much going on. It's just very similar to how I did all the skin tones. And of course, I had to add in the little yellow streak in her hair. I almost forgot it. So I just did that very fast. You know, it only took a minute or two. But I think it turned out all right. I liked how the clothing came out. I used the airbrush tool a lot more than I ever do in any of my other stuff because unlike my normal paintings, I don't want to see the brush strokes. So in order to hide the brush strokes, I have to really blend things in, and the airbrush is kind of good for giving you a lot of soft plastic looking finishes to your surfaces. Originally, I planned on including all the characters and doing a finished illustration with all of them, but I really, once again, just didn't have enough time to finish all of them. So I'm just gonna quickly get rid of the other drawings for the other two characters and just leave it with Karyu in the middle here. And once that's all cleaned up, I can just take this into Photoshop and go overboard with all the dumb post-processing techniques that I might want. I know it's fun to learn about that stuff, so I'm just going to demonstrate again real fast. So I did a real quick levels adjust just to make things pop a bit more. And then I duplicated my layer and went into the blending options in the layer properties, blending options. And I turned off the R and B, that's red and blue, basically blending option filters, and that way when I move this layer a little bit to the left or right, you'll get that chromatic aberration effect that everyone loves so much, or loves to hate. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use it just a little, just a whiff of it. And it's important that you don't use it everywhere, so that's why I did it on a separate layer, because now I'm going to erase the parts that I want in focus, such as the face, and I'll just leave the aberration parts for the things that are less in focus. And speaking of focus, now I can duplicate my layers again, and I want to actually Gaussian blur the crap out of it. So you can go up to filter and Gaussian blur it a ton, and then once again just make it really blurry, just go overboard, it's fine. And then you can take a soft eraser tool and erase all the stuff you want to be in focus, and that's usually the face. At the very least, the eyes should be always in focus, but really just do the whole face and I think you'll be fine. And once you've done that, you can always add multiple layers of focus. So that would just mean duplicating the background layer yet again, blurring it even more, and then erasing a bigger chunk rather than just the face. And that will give you multiple layers of crazy blur going on. And of course, blur works pretty good when combined with that chromatic aberration. Optionally, you can try adding a noise filter or maybe doing a paper texture on top and just setting it to a really subtle multiply. But for my purposes, I don't think I need any of that. I think I'll just wrap it up and bring in our corner kick logo here. And once you add something sharp and crisp like this, it's just going to add extra emphasis on how blurry and out of focus all the other stuff might be on the background. And I think that's it for this art piece, so I hope you like it. I'll have to finish the other characters too at some point. But for now, I think I'm okay with this. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about my anime project, and if you guys are really enthusiastic about it, maybe I can actually make a full episode sometime. Anyway, I do have an awesome bonus for you guys. A bunch of the people from Twitch actually made fan art for this video, so I'm just going to quickly run through all the awesome fan art I received over the past few days. We got Monsieur with some Yuzu fan art, and I'm surprised Yuzu seemed to be one of the most popular fan art characters. We also have a piece from Philip. And we got a little Fukumi x Yuzu action from Dirty Rusty Devil, as well as ZZZKEO, although I feel like they switched their personalities around a little bit, but that's okay. It still looks great. We have a traditional artwork from Dama-Yo, and it actually looks really cool. I love how anime it looks. Meanwhile, Kerward drew his favorite referee, and Baha is pretty great. Law of Third gave an idea for a ramen shop where the team can hang out in their free time. And he also did a couple quick little animations. Speaking of animations, Vishal also did an animation. And Jimmy Yin not only did one of the animations in our intro, he also did this fan art of Ariko, although he didn't know her personality, but that's fine. But let's get back on the Fukumi and Yuzu train because that seems to be the most popular. Jacob did a drawing of both Fukumi and Yuzu separately. Ethan here made some Yuzu fan art, while Yumi-chan made some Fukumi fan art, along with Henry and Ketso. It's a very clean style. Swagmaster Totoro snuck in some art of his favorite ref, and Steven did this little bit of a narrative group shot. Simo also has a nice traditional group shot, and Juho Lee did this wonderful graphical representation of our 5 main characters. I love the style and colors. So another big thank you to everyone that did fan art. It was a lot of fun to see your creations. I hope I didn't leave anyone out. And that's gonna wrap up our video as well as wrapping up anime. So I would like to give a big thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon for making these videos possible. You guys have been wonderful as always. And of course, all the art I painted in this video was done in Corel Painter 2016, and you can get $100 off a digital copy with coupon code 2016RS. All right, see you guys.